Hi, my name's Naomi Hunter. I am the leader of the Saskatchewan Green Party. I feel really, really amazing today, and I've never actually filmed myself voting before, so this is a big first for me. Voting is incredibly important for a number of reasons. There are often incredibly close races where literally 1 or 2 votes makes all the difference in the world. I have actually seen elections like that. But also, we need to be part of the democratic process, because if we want to complain about things and try to make changes, we need to also vote and bring in people who are going to help us. It needs to be a cooperative process between citizens and politicians. As well, I volunteered for many years with the Regina Immigrant Women's Centre. I met people who went through dangerous situations in order to earn the right to vote. So we as privileged Canadians, anyone who chooses to be in that category of people who don't vote, really, that's a terrible thing. We need to vote for the sake of those who can't, too.
You have a voter card?
No, I registered to vote online.
There you go.
Okay.
There's a booth right behind me.
And do I just take one of these pens, or there'll be one in the booth?
There'll be one there.
Okay.
You can deposit your ballot into the ballot.
Hey, great shirt. That's
my green shirt on.
Yeah, perfect thing to be wearing for this. So how was your morning of door knocking? You said you had some good conversations with people?
I did, yeah, nice people.
This is actually my second time going through the whole riding, where I did every door in this area over the last 2 years. This is my campaign vehicle, and it has literally been to numerous elections with me. It went out to the Alberta election last year. It has actually had parts fall off and had to be bolted back on. But it's small, it doesn't require a lot of fuel. A little bit about myself. I'm 51, single mother, and a farmer. I farm in a kind of small Saskatchewan farm that Saskatchewan was built on, that we're rapidly seeing disappearing due to the promotion of big mega farms in this province. My dad and I operate on a permaculture basis, growing Sask, which is an Indigenous boreal forest fruit. Well, we have a huge platform, which I really urge everyone to check out. Our website is saskgreen.ca, or we're the only party really advocating guaranteed livable income, actually eradicating the crippling poverty and cost of inflation, the affordability crisis that even people who have very good jobs in the province are struggling under right now. We also have a platform point to end homelessness. Along the same kind of idea, we want to adopt a Finland-style model where we rapidly transition people into permanent housing. We have the strongest platform on the climate crisis. We want to cut Saskatchewan's emissions to 65% less within 2 years, and then by 2035 be at net zero. This will help Saskatchewan stop being 206% above the national average. We will do this by rapidly transitioning the province, promoting solar, wind, clean energy. Saskatchewan used to have the best solar net metering project in the entire country, and that was cut with no notice by Sask Party's Scott Moe. We would bring this back, plus other energy incentive plans. We would not go ahead with small modular nuclear reactors. That project would be scrapped. Saskatchewan is a very debt-laden province, and nuclear is incredibly expensive. We cannot afford the nuclear solution, plus it would come in way too late to do anything about the climate crisis. We can't wait 12 years for this to roll out. As well, being a drought-prone province like Saskatchewan is, we can't afford labor-intensive, water-intensive solutions like nuclear. Nuclear would rely on Lake Diefenbaker, according to Scott Moe and the NDP, for water source to cool the reactor. And this is already a depleted water source, plus 70% of Saskatchewan's drinking water comes from Lake Diefenbaker. So if there was contamination, this could devastate the province. As well, We want to revitalize Saskatchewan's healthcare system. Right now, almost everyone I speak to at doors in this province doesn't have a family doctor. We're at an endemic situation here. People are literally being treated in stretchers in the hallways. They've had to shut down the emergency rooms in Saskatoon and Regina multiple times over the past couple of years. We would go away as the Saskatchewan Greens from the current pay per service model that Saskatchewan is under for doctors. We would go to more of a BC model where doctors would be put on salary. Right now, doctors in Saskatchewan who work in hospitals are on salary, and they generally report being happier. There's a very clear reason why we don't have enough doctors in private practice in Saskatchewan. They're not on salary. Let's incentivize people wanting to be family doctors. Like my grandfather, Harry Graham, was in Paradise Hill, Saskatchewan. He knew everyone in town. Everyone who I talk to up there when I'm door knocking in that community remembers my granddad because he birthed their babies, knew their entire story, and was a real small town doctor. This is what we need to go back to. Revitalizing our rural healthcare. Right now, healthcare in Saskatchewan has been so centralized that people in rural Saskatchewan are traveling vast distances to achieve care in our urban centers, which is then putting a huge weight on our urban centers and increasing the likelihood that those in urban centers also aren't going to receive the care they need because everyone is funneling into these urban centers for their healthcare. Let's go back to the days when we all were able to look after one another in our own communities. Let's look to doing politics differently with the Saskatchewan Green Party. As your Premier, I am ready to hit the ground running to see these and other initiatives happen rapidly. A lot of people don't know quite a few things about small modular nuclear reactors. First and foremost, they're fictional. Not a single one has ever been built. This is fairy tales. People keep using that term small. In reality, they're almost the same size as a regular reactor. Messages, you'll actually talk to me. So hope to hear from you. Bye-bye. I was just talking to a doorbell. It said I could leave a message, so I told them that leaving a piece of election material in their mailbox. And then it's actually me that answers all my emails and messages. Although I do have volunteers who've offered to do that, I choose to always be genuine. I think that voters respond really well to the fact that they know that they're actually going to be talking to the candidate when they get a message from me. The NDP have not been truly committed to the environment. For one thing, they still accept union donations, and many unions are, of course, on the side of industry. So when it comes time to vote and enact legislation, they're going to look and say, well, the pipe welders union donated heavily to our campaign, and that's who builds an oil pipeline. The other thing is that the NDP, in order to try to curry favor down the middle line of voting here in Saskatchewan, has softened its environmental stance to a point where it's almost non-existent. They are starting to actually vote alongside Scott Moe and the Sask party. They're saying that one of the first things they would do when elected is fight the carbon tax, just like he is. You know what? Either you feel that the entire world's economists who actually agree that carbon taxing works, and you agree that we need to take steps in order to fight the climate crisis, or you're a politician who likes the job and you're just trying to curry votes. The Sask NDP has turned into the latter, and it's really disappointing. Don't worry. The Saskatchewan Green Party is here to hold everyone to account. If we were to elect a slate of Greens to the legislature, or even just one strong Green voice, we will be fighting to save the environment and to stand for social justice and those who can't speak for themselves every single day in the legislature. Over and over and over on the doors in Saskatchewan, the number one thing that I am hearing is that people are suffering underneath the weight of inflation and affordability right now. People are struggling just to meet their basic needs. They're one paycheck away from ending up homeless. And those who are already homeless can't afford to buy a loaf of bread. Saskatchewan needs stronger anti-poverty measures, and the Saskatchewan Greens have the strongest anti-poverty legislation offered in a platform of any political party in the province of Saskatchewan. This is heartless. Scott Moe did close homeless shelters and has really done a series of things that have led to people being poorer in the province of Saskatchewan. The Sask party brought in a program called CIS, which has encouraged the impoverization of people on social services. It's a project where they changed a whole bunch of rules about how social income happens in the province of Saskatchewan. And at the same time, they changed eviction rates in the province of Saskatchewan so that now people can be evicted within 15 days. Almost immediately, we saw a massive increase in the number of people homeless in the province of Saskatchewan. People are literally freezing to death on the streets in this province, and we're a wealthy province, we're a wealthy nation. This is completely unacceptable. And you know what? People might say, well, someone has to fulfill certain guidelines in order to deserve housing. No, you know what? It doesn't matter if they're using substances, house them. Maybe they've done all the right things and they've ended up homeless. House them. Housing is a human right, and it's time that we started behaving that way as a society.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility to participate in politics?
I do feel a sense of responsibility to participate in politics. I have 2 children, and I'm extremely concerned that there isn't going to be a livable world for them to live in. All of us need to step up and do what we can. And I feel that at this point, this tipping point in history, it's never been more important to speak your truth, to make sure that we have a strong voice speaking up for the environment in Saskatchewan politics. Saskatchewan right now is responsible for all of Canada not meeting its Paris Accord agreements. And this is something that I feel strongly every single day. I feel very proud that I have the opportunity to speak for the earth and for nature, and also for people in our society who are underprivileged and need someone to speak for them. It's absolutely a responsibility and a need. I feel that this is the most important thing that I've ever done. Oh, what an adorable little baby. See, now you see those new little ones, and one thing that I always imagine is some child that I'm attached to, and I imagine them at the age of 90 years old. They've lived a good long life, and their great-grandchildren are at their knees talking to them and saying, how come when you were a little girl your family didn't love you enough to do something about the climate crisis? This is why we have to stand up, we have to be heard, and we need to actually make sure that good legislation is passed to preserve the world for people like that tiny little baby at the door just now. Saskatchewan's social safety net is at the lowest state in the country. It's embarrassing. People on disability are receiving so little that they are forced to go to the food bank. Seniors, people on temporary employment benefits, every single marker that you could have for how we're looking after those who are most challenged in society, here in Saskatchewan, we're coming in dead last. The Saskatchewan Greens proposing a guaranteed livable income, talking about lifting some of the administration off and making sure that people actually receive the help that they need so that they can not just survive, but thrive. This is what we need in this province. We need to be a province where we base decisions upon well-being and caring rather than just the almighty dollar. Right now, our social safety net in Saskatchewan is based upon a system where social service recipients need to go in and basically beg and be shamed and jump through a whole bunch of hoops in order to receive just basic care. And then it still doesn't cover enough to make sure that any extras that happen in life, that they actually have access to that. So part of the way the system is designed is that they get this basic amount and then they're forced to go to other places in order to receive other services to make sure that all their needs are met. This becomes a full-time job. They have to schedule, many times they don't have transportation, they have to schedule help to get to the food bank. They need to schedule some help to get to the free clothing service. Oh wait, there's a free backpack program. Don't worry, we're going to look after people, because individuals in the community have stepped up to fill the gap that the government isn't filling. So in order to get our kids to the free backpack program for school supplies, we've got to get there as well. This literally becomes a full-time job. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, and our system right now is set up so that people get stuck in it forever. We want to see a system more like the pilot program of the Guaranteed Livable Income in Dauphin, Manitoba, where for 6 months people were provided basically with a GLI. What we saw is that people started small businesses, went back to school, ended up pursuing other things and discovering what their joys and passions were. And at the end of the program, they no longer needed the social safety net that they had been under before. Let's work together and make this happen, Saskatchewan.
What does the future hold for Saskatchewan if Scott Moe is re-elected?
If Scott Moe is re-elected, we're going to see the current problems that are already happening in our society. People who need safe consumption sites being left without. Women being subjected to less and less human rights. I completely suspect that Scott Moe wants to cut off access to women's health care. We will see more and more of the targeting of trans children here in the province of Saskatchewan. Our education system that is currently under such distress will continue in that direction. The Sask Party has no intention of solving the problems of healthcare and education, which, by the way, are two areas that are completely under the purview of provincial government. As well, our beautiful environment. Saskatchewan has some of the best carbon sinks available in the world, with our wetlands and our grasslands. But we have been losing them at an unprecedented rate. The Sask Party has done a massive sell-off of Crown land. As well, he has put systems in place where farmers can actually get rid of wetland and then put something in like a dugout, and that is considered remediation. That's considered replacing that wetland. These sort of practices will continue until Saskatchewan is back in the state that we were in the dirty 30s, when Saskatchewan was the Dust Bowl of Canada. We already are a drought-prone province. This is going to continue to cause us problems, but without a government proactively planning for climate disasters, preparing for the emergencies that are to come, the mega forest fires that we've continued to see since the Fort McMurray superfire, since it literally burned that town to the ground. Well, northern Saskatchewan has been a haze of smoke every summer, and we're seeing more and more evacuations down to the south. The Saskatchewan Green Party has an emergency preparedness section to our platform, where we are actually bringing in something that I haven't seen any other political party talk about, which is a greater fire preparedness safety plan. And none of this is anything that Scott Moe and the Sask Party have any intention of following in our footsteps in. They are completely beholden to their corporate donors and will continue to try to build big mega projects. This has been the focus of their government from day one, as well as privatization of our Crown projects where, our beloved institutions, right? SaskTel is under threat from the Sask Party. They're going to sell it off the way they did the liquor board stores. Here in Saskatchewan, we're proud of our public institutions. We're proud of the fact that we have so many corporations that are crowns. We need to protect them by not allowing Scott Moe and the Sask Party to have one more term in office. Carla Beck is a very nice woman. I think we can all agree on that. But in order to win votes, she's brought the NDP in Saskatchewan even more to the middle of provincial politics than it already was. And right now the NDP slogan is time for change. Well, the question I would ask is it enough change? Is it change? When you read the platform this year, does it inspire you? Then go and read the Saskatchewan Green Party platform and feel inspired. See the kind of change that you actually really want. Like, I'm talking about education actually being free. Like, let's make sure that everyone can afford early childhood education and specialists for their children because it's free. Post-secondary education. Everyone should be able to get a degree if they want to, because that actually helps society. A society with more doctors and researchers and scientists is actually a better society. Well, these are the kind of programs that the Saskatchewan Greens are putting forth in our platform. We're bringing in an actual wetlands protection policy for the province of Saskatchewan. We want to make sure that we have clean air and clean drinking water, and that we do it in a way that we bring in cooperation and Indigenous wisdom into making sure that these areas are protected, and that any development that does happen is in full cooperation with the treaties. It's time for a Saskatchewan that, starts bringing us first again and starts really making us feel excited about the changes that are possible in society. Instead of just looking at incremental increases in how we look after people in this society, let's make sure that we end poverty. Let's incentivize farmers remediating their land and getting rid of toxic chemicals. If we're going to be the breadbasket of the world, let's do it in a way that's really inspiring.
Why is Scott Moe so obsessed with the carbon tax?
I believe that Scott Moe is obsessed with the carbon tax because, like many conservative premiers, he's paying lip service to saying that he believes in the climate crisis, but he really doesn't. As well, he has fueled this feud with the federal government because it builds his popularity. He's styled himself on US-style politicians, and this is how they do things down south. Well, it's not very Canadian, it's not very Saskatchewan, and quite a few of us find it distasteful. He needs to stop this useless war with the federal government, and instead, why don't we do what I'm proposing, which is let's actually build a spirit of cooperation with the federal government and look at what Wab Kinew has done in Manitoba. He immediately upon becoming premier went to the federal government and said, we have massive problems in healthcare here in the province of Manitoba. We'd like to partner with you and bring in some new funding. We're willing to be completely accountable to you as the federal government. Scott Moe has been unwilling to do that. And let's solve the massive problems with our healthcare system. The Saskatchewan Green Party has been rooted in the social justice and peace movement. That was one of the things that was actually a founding premise of the Saskatchewan Greens. We were born out of the fight against nuclear waste being stored in Saskatchewan's north. And we've long fought uranium mining in the province of Saskatchewan, as this is one of the products that's used to make weapons that are used in international conflicts. So often, politicians on a provincial level kind of throw their hands up, wash their hands and say, well, this is provincial politics. We have nothing to do with international conflicts. The Saskatchewan Greens have always been outliers in this, saying, no, we are ground zero for these conflicts. We have to draw a line and show our complicitness in this, in the fact that we are a place where these weapons originate. We need to stop. Uranium needs to stay in the ground. Oh, hey. We want a regular lawn sign, not one of your painted lean-to ones. And here is the house number. Okay, I've got a lawn sign request. Yay. Here in Saskatchewan, our LGBTQ community has been under attack. The Saskatchewan Greens have always been very firm in our support of the LGBTQ plus community. We were the very first political party in Saskatchewan to run a trans candidate in a provincial election. This election, we have 3 trans candidates. We've continued to do this every election. It's important because representation matters, and especially when populations in our province are under attack, we really need to make sure that those voices are heard at provincial debate stages. The Saskatchewan Greens have had proactive proposals in our platform ensuring the rights of LGBTQ plus members of our community are upheld. Things like the right to choose which prison population people go to. Right now in Saskatchewan, that right is taken away from people. Things like people being able to choose which sex is on their official documents and decide if they want that which they were born with or that which actually is right for them. As well, we need to be a welcoming, inclusive, and caring community. It's part of the core platform of Green Parties worldwide. Saskatchewan Greens is based on inclusivity. One of our core values is respect for diversity. My feeling is that Scott Moe keeps attacking trans kids because he's trying to, again, pander to his base. Of course, strong religious base in the Sask party and other right-wing parties in the province of Saskatchewan. And continuing to attack visible minorities is an easy point-scoring move when he can't come up with valid answers as to what he's going to do to repair our school system, our healthcare system, save our environment, and deal with the crushing weight of poverty in our province. He actually, instead of doing this kind of a move, this spring, when it was apparent that the cost of living and affordability had gone through the roof and people were really struggling, the very first thing that he should have done was cut the PST, something he has complete control over. He could have given everyone an immediate break on the cost of living. And instead, we've seen everything from legislation that he passed, that he needed to pass the notwithstanding clause that never should have been used, right down to his most recent attack during the provincial election, where out of the blue, something that wasn't in his platform just kind of pulled from the air. The very first thing that he would do, as if he's reelected as premier, is legislate a washroom policy for young people, for boys and girls. The very first thing that I would do upon becoming premier is immediately double the amount that everyone on social income support receives. All social income support payments need to be doubled across the province. Get people to a level of support where they're actually surviving, because right now we are below that level. We're not even meeting the poverty level. I would bring in legislation to end homelessness forever, rapidly transition people into permanent housing on a Finland-style model. Real change. First 100 days in office, where we really make sure that people have some immediate relief from the crushing aspects of poverty. I would find the best system for bringing about a guaranteed livable income in the province of Saskatchewan. My purpose in, first of all, injecting some immediate relief into our existing programs is that's the fastest way to get extra funds to people quickly. But my next goal would be to bring in a guaranteed livable income for Saskatchewan and make sure that people are at a level where no one is suffering under the crushing throes of poverty and where nobody falls through the cracks of our current system. Right now, people who may struggle with getting paperwork done or making it to a meeting with a social worker are in grave danger of ending up on the streets. Saskatchewan politics is incredibly corrupt. And one of the things that I think voters want is to have their faith in democracy restored. Saskatchewan had 41 constituencies at the time that the Sask party took power. And at the very most, based on our population, I don't think we ever should have had more than 48. Right now we have 61. Each of these peoples receives a giant salary as well as other compensation. And this is a giant financial burden on the people of Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Greens are committed to routing out the corruption inherent in our political system. And one of the first things that we would do upon taking government is we would actually bring about a system of proportional representation. We would do a referendum, find out what form of proportional representation the people of Saskatchewan would like. But everywhere that I go, I have been to all 61 ridings in the province. One of the biggest things that people say to me is that they would like their vote to count. But it's very disappointing for them that when they mark their ballot, and it's one of the things that has destroyed their faith in provincial politics, is that they can clearly see that their vote is not reflected in what they see in the slate of MLAs in the legislature. The Saskatchewan Greens are committed to actually creating a system of voting that's fair for the people of this province. This election, my team of candidates are the most vibrant, promising group of MLA aspirants that I have ever seen. They come from all walks of life. They're ordinary people who are relatable to you and I. Half of my candidates are Indigenous or Métis. 29 are women, 26 are men, and 3 trans candidates. As well, many are people who identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community, visible minorities, people who have various disabilities. And this is important to the Saskatchewan Greens, that we really represent everyone in society. And I just look at the candidates that we have this election, and I'm so incredibly inspired as leader. I feel like they are the revitalization and the hope for this province as we move forward. I look forward to each and every single one of them getting a seat in the legislature and becoming the change makers that Saskatchewan needs moving forward. It's incredibly important for everyone to get out and vote, because while it might be hard to feel enchanted by provincial politics, the thing is that so many of these races are incredibly close. Sometimes one vote can make all the difference between the candidate that you hope for, that really inspires you getting in, and more of the same old, same old. It's time to actually do politics differently in the province of Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Greens are committed to completely changing the way politics are done in this province. We're ready to proactively base our entire society not upon corporate interests, but upon the actual needs of the people who live here. We need a Saskatchewan that actually works for the people who live here. We need a Saskatchewan that's welcoming and kind, that accepts everyone. And we need a slate of legislators who are ready to make that happen. I am that leader, and my candidates are those people. Nearly done this area. This was such a lovely street, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Riversdale, it's such a interesting neighborhood. Like, I love how every house is different.
Yeah.
And there's lots of greenery. It's just, it gets cozy. It just feels like a small town in the heart of the city.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
So how was campaigning today?
Amazing. A woman who just out of the blue said to me that she voted for me because of our anti-nuclear stance, and that was so magical. And basically the whole day was just really positive, and I got to vote for myself, which is always really cool.
And what's on the agenda for tomorrow?
More of the same. And I'm going to just be enthusiastic and excited to keep door knocking right up until election day, at which point I will be sad because the election is over. This is kind of one of my favorite parts of elections is I love going up to doorsteps. I love connecting with the people, and I think it's a really, really important part of any election.
Yeah.
And I feel like today was fantastic.